The March on Machines is just around the corner, and today we'll be going through my top 5 picks for blue cards for March on Machines Standard. Get into it. Alright, coming at number 5, we have the Oracle of Tragedy. So it's just an uncommon, 1 colourless, 1 blue for a 1/3. So when it enters the battlefield or dies, you get to choose one, draw a card and then discard a card, or you get to shuffle up to 4 target cards with mana value 3 or greater from your graveyard into your library. I really like this. Now, I like playing control decks. This is a really good blocker, you know, to kind of stem the bleeding from your opponents, especially if you're facing aggressive decks. Best of one, we know it. Mono red, mono black aggro, loads of different decks like to just beat face, right? This is a good blocker. 1/3 can be a bit of a pain, and it gives you that kind of little bit of card filling, right? Being able to draw a card and discard a card, you can try and dig for those cards that you really need for that matchup, right? We've had it time and time again where maybe you draw the more expensive part of your deck and you're like, hang on, I need to dig to some more cheap interaction. Oracle of Tragedy allows you to get there. The fact is, it happens when it enters the battlefield and dies is very, very key. And then in that kind of like long grindy game, you can also bring back stuff, shuffle it back into your library, which is very, very useful. You know, very, very useful, especially, you know, 3 or greater. You can bring back some pretty decent cards. You know, you can bring back some good ones, you know, maybe some Wandering Emperors, maybe some, you know, maybe some Farewells, whatever it may be, you can shuffle it back in. So I really like this for kind of a, you know, control style list that plays blue. Maybe it be blue-white, blue-black, maybe even Esper, Is It Control, anything like that. Really, really cool. Then number 4, we have Rona, Herald of Invasion. Now, I quite like this card. This is 1 colourless, 1 blue for a 1/3. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, you get to untap her. Okay, and she has tap, draw a card, then discard a card. So again, another good 2 mana 1/3, pretty decent, right? Then you can pay 6 mana, one of them being a friction black, so maybe 5. Then you get to transform her. Now, when you get to cast a legendary spell, so we've already seen Esper Legends being very strong in standard. This could actually fit in there, maybe as a 1-off, maybe as a 2-off. This is pretty good. Now, what happens when it flips? When it flips, you get Rona, Tolarian Obliterator. 5/5 trample. That is a big creature. Big creature. You're paying 5 mana though, but it is good in that mid to late game. You know, really good. Whenever a source deals damage to Rona, Tolarian Obliterator, that source's controller exile a card from their hand at random. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield on your control. Otherwise, you may cast it without paying any mana cost. So very good. You know, you get a 5/5 with trample, pretty good in Esper Legends, mainly because it doesn't really have huge creatures, let's be honest. This is pretty cool, and then it makes it really awkward for your opponent to kind of like deal damage to it. It's kind of like a friction obliterator type feel, which is pretty cool. So I do like this. I think it's really good. You know, you can get some good card filtering, dump some excess lands you don't want with the front side of Rona, and then once it transforms, that is really, really tough for your opponent to deal with. So I really rate this. I think it's got a nice home potentially in Esper Legends. Coming on 3, we have Chrome Host Seedshark. We actually have a shark. Really interesting. This is 2 colourless, 1 blue for a 2/4 flyer. Really good. You know, pretty decent body, good blocker, quite like it. 2/4 can be a bit awkward to deal with. Okay, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get to incubate X, where X is that spell's mana value. So we've seen cards like Shark Typhoon, you know, we'll see it in the Explorer and Old Standard, where basically it allows you to, you know, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a shark equal to the mana cost of the spell you cast. You know, you cast a 1 mana spell, you get a 1/1 shark. This incubates it, so this isn't quite as powerful, but it does give you that flexibility whenever you need to transform it, right? So this is pretty good. I can see, you know, you're getting some real good triggers off this. I'll give you an example, right? You play this on turn 3, turn 4, you play a Wandering Emperor. Okay, you get an token that can then become a 4/4. That's really good going. So, you know, there's some pretty cool stuff you can do with this. And a 2/4 flyer ain't too bad. You know, it's a pretty decent body. And the fact is non-creature, not just instant sorcery, is quite nice. I do really rate this. So, yeah, this is a pretty cool, you know, creature, I think, for any kind of potential control, maybe like a spell type deck, mid-range blue deck. I think it's pretty cool. Coming number 2, we have the Faerie Mastermind. So this is the World Championship card. 2 mana for a 2/1 Faerie Rogue. It's flash flying. Whenever opponent draws their second card each turn, you get to draw a card. And then you can pay 4 mana, each player draws a card. Now this is a really small invasive creature that can get you a decent amount of value, right? Whenever opponent draws their second card, let's say they want to activate a Reckoner Bankbuster, right, in their turn to dig for something. What, you have this in play, we flash this in, you get to draw a card. They have the Fable the Mirror Breaker card they want to draw. Guess what? Draw a card. You can do some really cool shenanigans, maybe like an Evoke Despair, you know, if you have another creature or anything like that. Flash this in, you know, they're going to draw some cards, you get to draw some cards. I think this is quite good. You know, I think this is quite good. This could be used in any type of spell-based strategy, you know, as in like, you could use it in like the Simic Infect, you know, poison counter deck with the Rot Priest. That could be a potential home for this. You could play this, in a control style deck, although it's not the best defensive creature. This is more of a tempo style creature, but I do still really rate this, and I do think it will see some play in standard. Not too sure in the exact home. Get some nice little advantage for your opponent trying to draw some more cards. Coming number 1, we have Jin-Gitaxis. This guy is an absolute beast. I really rate this guy. So 5 mana, 3 colors, double blue for a 5/5 with Ward 2. Pretty tough to deal with. You know, big body, it's quite nice. Then whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, you get to draw a card. Wandering Emperors, Memory Deluge, the list goes on, right? You get to draw a card. Fantastic. And then you can pay 4 mana, you exile him, you flip him, you turn him into the Saga on the other side, but you can only activate this if you have several more cards in hand. So you're going to have a real good grip. This is going to belong in a control style deck. But what does it transform into? It transforms into the Great Synthesis. This is a really good Saga. So you get to draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand. So already you can only activate this when you have 7 or more cards in your hand. So you can basically draw 7 cards. You then have no maximum hand size for as long as you control the Great Synthesis. So this is very similar to a Seagate Restoration, you know, back in Zendikar days. Then number 2, you get to return all non-friction creatures to their owner's hands. Basically, it's going to be a big board sweeper, bounce everything back to your opponent's hand, get out of there. And then in the third one, you get to cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. Then you flip it back to Jin-Gitaxis. That is bonkersly strong, right? Let's put this into perspective. You could just cast some insanely expensive stuff, which can just absolutely steamroll your opponent, right? You can play things like Portal for Extra, if you wanted to. You can cast things like the Cityscape Leveler. You can just cast some real big cards. It's going to be so tough for your opponent to deal with. So this is a really cool card. A little bit of work needed, obviously, because you do need to have lots of cards in your hand. But Jin-Gitaxis allows you to do that, and he is pretty tough. You know, big body. You know, 5 mana, 5/5 with Ward 2. Really good going. There you have it, guys. Those are my top 5 blue cards for standard in March of the Machines. Let me know, guys, down in the comments, what are your picks for the blue cards. I think Jin-Gitaxis is going to be a good one. I think he's going to be pretty decent. You know, some good control style cards for blue, but I feel like blue's kind of the weaker color coming in to March of the Machines, but we'll have to wait and see how things go. Right now, I think Jin-Gitaxis could have some really good potential, but we have to wait and see. If you made this far into the video, guys, and you've enjoyed it, make sure to smash that like button, make sure you subscribe for more Magic content. And if you want to find out what the best white cards are from March of the Machines, then make sure to click on this video right here. Alright, guys, that's it from me in this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.